Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. I am your host, Patty Rose. My guest today is a friend of the podcast, Jeremy Dirtball Cummings. Jeremy is an entrepreneur, musician, and free speech absolutist. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I know I kind of threw that last one in there. We'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about free speech and some political stuff. There's a lot to unpack here. You've been the little backstory about how we met. You were my first podcast Twitter fan, essentially, and you reached out. Tell me about how you found the show.
I don't remember specifically. I really like engaging with the community and finding out different projects people are doing in town. I may have come across you through Talks with Tiger or through Thomas Hura, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember the specific details, but just by poking around in the community.
Yeah, there's a cool growing behind the scenes community of podcasters. Tiger, like you had mentioned, Talks with Tiger is a good one. And then Thomas has what's now called Broken Class. He's been a guest a few times. So there's a growing community there. But yeah, you had reached out to me on Twitter and told me that you really liked the show, which was really cool because I don't use Twitter a lot. And I think that I'm going to start trying to get more involved with that. But you had reached out to me and asked me to be a guest. And that was a while ago, probably about a year ago. So we finally made this happen. And it was really cool to me when you had reached out because it was growing for me, but it validated the work that I was doing behind the scenes. And that was kind of nice.
Definitely.
So then we did an episode. I did a panel discussion about the impeachment inquiry, and we tried something a little different. You did a recorded question that we reviewed, and that was kind of fun. That was quite a while ago. So I'm not going to lie. I don't remember the exact content of the discussion of the questions. I do remember that we were pretty brutal about it on the inquiry, but yeah. that was fun. And you were such a great sport about it all. But again, thanks for doing this. Jeremy Dirtball Cummings. Where did the name Dirtball come from? Let's start with that.
Yeah, well, excuse me, sorry. Clearing my throat. Dirtballs, it came from the Dirtballs. The name Dirtball came from Dirtballs right here, which is a snack I make. And I had started making the snack Dirtballs, and I was starting to build it into a little business. And then I was making music with a friend, Augie Rose, who goes by Hottest in Streets as his artist name. And he just started calling me Dirtball. And then everybody started calling me Dirtball, and now I'm Dirtball.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. It's definitely become your whole brand. We're going to talk a lot today about the Dirtballs that you had mentioned. For the audio listeners that can't see what you had shown, I wanted to start with this because I do think that this is a great stocking stuffer idea. Your website is snaktak.com, snaktak.com, and the link will be in the show notes. Is that pronounced right? Snaktak. That's what you call it.
Yeah, it's like Snack Attack.
Yeah, snaktak.com, and that's where you sell your Dirtballs protein snacks. Tell me a little bit about what a Dirtball is.
Yeah, I mean, I call them energy bites because they're not like super high in protein. There's some sunflower butter in there, but they're just simple, tasty little energy bites made of dates, papaya, coconut, flax seeds, cinnamon, local cinnamon from Red Ape Cinnamon.
Nice.
They're delicious. I was making them and I was just going for the maximum flavor possible. And I just hit upon a really amazing combination of great ingredients.
And so you were doing it kind of just in your own for yourself initially? It wasn't something that you thought about selling, or was the plan to make it something that you would market and sell?
Yeah, the plan was to turn it into a product because I had the origin of it was I had made some vegan oatmeal cookies for a bake sale back in college, and they were just 5 ingredients. It was like banana, oats, almonds, almond butter. And on the way to school, I just had the idea in my head, what if I call these things Dirtballs? I wonder what would happen then. And people got a laugh out of it. They sold out every time. And I said, I was studying journalism at the time, but I'd become completely disillusioned with journalism. And I said, instead of journalism, maybe I'll just try to start a snack business. That sounds like a lot more fun.
So you have gotten them in stores. Is that true? Are they still in stores?
Yeah, I mean, so right now is actually a weird time for Dirtballs because I ran into issues it was partially from COVID and partially from my mismanagement, but the production was on pause for a second. and because I had trouble getting the packaging and some of the ingredients.
Sure.
And then, but we just sorted. It's kind of cool that the podcast got delayed 1 week because I can announce this thing
Cool.
that happened this week. I have a agreement with Elegant Elephant now, which is a local bakery in town.
Now, where's that located?
It's right at the base of Skinner Butte. There's a whole big complex of food businesses over there, like Hummingbird Wholesale and everything. But Elegant Elephant, they also make products for a couple other companies like Vanilla Jill's ice cream.
Nice.
And they're going to be making the Dirtballs. So
that's awesome.
I got a manufacturer now, which is exciting.
So now, is there something with the Dirtballs? Is there like a secret sauce, or is it one of those things where you're not too concerned about people knowing the ingredients? A, because they're going to be consuming it, and B, because they're not going to make it themselves. Like it's one of those things that you just have put the love into it, right? You know what I mean? Is that kind of how you look at it?
Yeah, totally. I've thought a lot about just putting the whole recipe out for the public, like, because I'm not like a tech person, but I think along those lines, and I think about open source software a lot. And it's like having some kind of open source snack that people can also buy from me, because a lot of people won't choose to make it on themselves. A lot of people just love the convenience. They want to just like order a box of Dirtballs and have it show up on the doorstep.
Right.
But then for the people who want to make them, it would be awesome to give them the recipe, because
it's probably cost effective when you're making them in bulk. You can probably pass that on to the consumer, that it's a little bit more cost effective. So on the website, snacktack.com, which is again going to be in the show notes, you can purchase, is it a 2-pack is what it comes with? It comes with 2 Dirtballs.
7.
Okay. So they're little. So they're pretty small.
Yeah. They're like golf ball sized.
Okay. So then it's, like I said, I think it would be a great stocking stuffer, pretty inexpensive, and they're made right here in Eugene. So that's really cool.
And you support 2 local businesses now if you buy them.
Yeah. So I checked out the website, and again, we'll put the link in the show notes. So everybody should check that out. With Christmas coming up, that's kind of a cool thing that I just think it's funny. Like you said, people really have appreciated the name, the Dirtballs. And so I know that there's been a thing in the past where people would get like chocolate coal, and put coal in someone's stocking. So it's kind of one of those things. I mean, it's definitely a different meaning, but it's just kind of fun. So
yeah, hopefully you get Dirtballs in your stocking if you're good.
Right. If I don't know if anybody, we haven't been able to go outside this year. So, people have been people have been bad. Anyway, that's a different story. So one of the other things on your website is that you have a blog, and on your blog, you talk a little bit about, a healthy lifestyle, and you do delve into politics, which I think is kind of interesting, because you don't worry about mixing business with chaos. I guess I don't know where we're going to call that
business with chaos.
Yeah, I was going to say pleasure, but politics is definitely not pleasure. But yeah, I mean, tell me a little bit about what you think is paramount to a healthy lifestyle. I know on your blog you talk a little bit about living a healthy lifestyle. So what do you think is paramount to living a healthy lifestyle?
I boiled it down to 3 things at one point: healthy diet, strong community, and connections to nature. And then each of those is kind of, you can expand on it, because for me, a healthy diet is kind of a holistic thing. It's the foods you eat, it's the activities you do. I even extend it to the information you take in. You really need to have a good balance of all that. Yeah. And one of the major sources of sickness in our society is the type of food we eat, all the processed foods, all the unhealthiness.
Right.
That's why we have so much extra health problems in America.
You're talking about a connection with nature. I know that that's something that's been lost a lot with the tech world, with all the devices and all that kind of stuff. But with COVID, it's kind of one of the silver linings of the original shutdown, was that one of the things that you could do was go for a hike. You could get outside and do that kind of stuff. And I noticed a lot more people, including myself, getting involved with that. How has COVID affected you? You mentioned your business being deterred. Now, you had said with that it was because some of the ingredients were harder to come by. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I mean, the packaging was the big one. I just changed the packaging to these pouches. I was using these plastic cups with a sticker over the top before, and I couldn't get the cups. So I just ran out of what I needed. Sure. But I mean, other than that, the business is mostly online. Yeah. And I'm the only employee, so it's not like there was any workplace social distancing or anything. So I've been pretty lucky. I'm very fortunate with how I'm positioned in the world. And like my part-time job is also an online business with not many employees, so that has been pretty stable the whole time.
That
So
is
it's really just been like the emotional strain that everyone's going through.
right. Now on a daily, I asked you this we had talked about this before, about a week ago. We were going to do it and we pushed it back, like you said, because to be honest, I was just burnt out with the podcast. I needed a little bit of time. I had hit it really hard for the election, and then I needed to let my brain rest. And I'm glad we took time off because I got really excited when I started prepping this. But how has COVID affected you individually? I mean, I tried to ask you in a weird roundabout way, and I didn't really know how to word it. Because we've never met in person, so I don't know you. I don't know you well.
Except for the one haircut.
That is true. I did cut your hair, even though if under your hat, it's hard to tell. No, but for a lot of people that are very social, I know when I was in my early 20s, especially, I was very social. I was bouncing around. I liked to be around people. Now I've kind of locked in. I've got my home life with my family. Has COVID kind of affected your daily life?
Well, I mean, not so much my daily life, but I had gotten really connected with the local DIY music scene. And obviously those house shows have been shut down, and that was basically the only social outings I ever went on. Like, I don't like going to bars, I don't like going to clubs that much, but the environment of the house shows was just really wholesome and very friendly all around. So that's been sad. And there've been I've still been socializing because there's like a select pod of people who I've been seeing. So I'm not completely cut off from folks. Sure. It's just, it's tough not being able to go out to the shows. And a lot of those musicians were starting to build up like a really good beginning of a career. And that's been kind of put on hold, which is sad.
Yeah, it's tough. The live music scene is really struggling, and you talk about house shows, so you're talking about actually at people's residence where they're doing it kind of underground. But there's also some local venues that I'm not kind of in that world anymore, but I don't even know if it still existed pre-COVID, but like Wandering Goat, places like that I wonder if these places will survive. I worry about the Wow Hall. The Wow Hall, I'm sure that they're limping through. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see, because the Wow Hall is a staple. I mean, all of us kind of shit on the Wow Hall in some ways, but we all love it. You know what I mean? We're all like, but it's a great venue for that purpose. Definitely. That it's all ages. It's really hard to find all ages venues that aren't centered. I mean, bar shows though are great for the performers, because when there's drinks sold, there could be more income, because you can't really charge a lot for a concert locally for bands that are just starting out to get people to show up. But I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. I think that we're going to have a resurgence in the arts in Eugene. Not that it's ever gone away, but I think that there's going to be such a thirst for it when we can actually go and be in person, that I think we're going to see some really cool things. There's going to be silver linings to this whole experience. Now, you had mentioned how you were getting involved in the music scene. You yourself are a musician, and we're going to play a song at the end of this. But tell me about how you got into that.
Yeah, I've always been musical. My parents had me learning cello and clarinet and stuff at an early age. And it was in middle school, I think, when my friend showed me how to make beats in GarageBand on the school computers. And since then, I torrented some music production software back in the day. And I was just making beats on the computer for a long time. And slowly starting to write raps, never really being confident enough to rap in front of people. But then eventually I was just like, after 7 or so years of that, I started to realize, hey, I'm getting kind of good at this.
Right.
And then once I moved here, my friend who named me Dirtball, he taught me a lot about the hip hop game and how to make good music, and really kind of put some rocket fuel in there to help me get going. And then I started playing shows, releasing more music. And I'm a pretty good rapper. I have there's some holes in my technique for sure, but
we can always grow. Yeah. So I noticed listening to a little bit of your music that it's very produced. Not produced. It's got a lot of effects. So when you do it live, How does that work? I mean, because it's a lot of post-production type stuff. So how do you do it live? Is it a little bit more kind of rough live?
Yeah, definitely grittier. There's only one show or two shows I've played where I had effects on my vocals, because it to actually have all those effects that I record with would take a lot of gear and a
Yeah,
lot of probably I would actually need an engineer there
sure.
making it happen. So usually it's just me raw vocals coming out of the PA.
Right.
Sometimes I sing over the tracks with the vocals. Sometimes I do it without the vocals on the tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting, and I mean I can completely relate because the music that I've made, which I'm not gonna I'm in no illusion that it's anything but a hobby, but that being said, like I write my music in the studio while I'm recording it. You know, it's not like where
Yeah.
you're composing something maybe on a guitar or something like that for weeks, and then you finally hit the studio with it, a song that you've been playing a lot. Sometimes I write the second verse before the first verse. You know, I mean, you just do weird stuff to
Yeah.
where you write it as you're creating it. It's like painting in that way. So you're literally creating it and recording it while it's being written. It's kind of interesting, and that's kind of I swear that's got to be a newer technique. I mean, I don't think that that's how music was done originally. You got together with a band in a garage or something, and you spent
Yeah.
your time kind of writing the music. And then, you know, I've got friends, even hip hop artists. Shout out to Awkward Storms. Back when they were called Three Blind Mics, they had a whole set that was never recorded. You know, that they always just practiced it and performed it. And it's like you guys, it's kind of it's rare to see that anymore.
Like
Where
they had
a
a
lot of-
whole planned out live performance.
Yeah, they had, and they did hundreds of shows before they ever recorded a track. You know, so it's really interesting. You don't see that very often. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell by the style of your music, and people are going to have to hold out. You know, you'll be able to hear it at the end to know what I'm talking about. But that you definitely probably are the same as I am with that. That you write it in the studio. You write it while you're recording it, kind of thing. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I'm halfway through making a beat and then some lyrics just pop in my head. I start freestyling. Then I write all the lyrics and then go back and finish the beat. Then I change up the lyrics, and it's a very loosey-goosey process.
It's pretty
And it
cool.
varies from song to song a lot.
It's very Eugene. Now, you mentioned that when you moved here, where are you originally from?
I grew up in California. I had
Yep.
been going to school in San Jose for 7 years before I moved up here.
What brought you to Eugene?
I wanted to get out of California really badly. And then I think, oh yeah, I just had one of my old friends was moving up to Eugene. And I said, I wonder what Eugene's like. And I came and visited for a week, and I said, yeah, I could live here for no particular reason, because I just really wanted to get out of California.
Sure. I mean, it's expensive, and, you know, way too many people, and it's hot and all that good stuff. Eugene is a vortex. So once you get here, you realize that even if you leave, you will be sucked back in. I mean, that's just the way that it works. The
It's
one
a
thing
special place.
Yeah, I mean, I loved growing up here. I think it would be really hard now to kind of explain to people the charm of what used to exist, the festival feel and all that kind of stuff. I think that that's still there, but there used to be such a deep communal feel in Eugene, and I just think in the whole country as a whole, it's lost. You know, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Actually, let's get to some of that. Before we move on, I want to give a shout out to my title sponsor, Oregon Cashflow Pro. Oregon Cashflow Pro, free money management advice on YouTube. Check out Oregon Cashflow Pro. Also, Hewlett Artistry. If you need Christmas photography, it's kind of coming down to the wire. Contact Hewlett Artistry. He's offering specials for family Christmas photography. And on my website at strpod.com/sponsors, you can find the links to their stuff. Check out Hewlett Artistry. Also, I'm asking individual sponsors. This is just anybody that listens to the show. If you've become a fan of the show and you want to help donate to the show, I'm asking for individual sponsors to donate $2 a month. That's all it is. $2. You don't have to. There's no obligation, obviously. The show will always be free, but to continue the production of the show, it does cost money for equipment and whatnot. So I'm asking listeners that have become fans to donate $2 a month to the show. You click on PayPal, and then there's a monthly, check the box to do monthly donation. You can say $2 donation at strpod.com/sponsors. That would be wonderful.
It's worth it. $2 a month, people.
$2 a month. That's all I'm asking. If I can get 200 people to do that, I would be sitting pretty. So So we're going to talk a little bit about politics. This is, I know, one
Let's
of the
get into
things.
it.
Yeah, this is going to be gross. But one of the things that you uh, have told me that you really enjoy about the show, it's definitely not what I intended. When I started the show, I was interviewing hip hop artists. It's kind of interesting how it's become this whole political show. And now that I live in Springfield, I've been covering a lot of Springfield city government stuff, which is kind of neat because I'm learning about it. And then I plan on learning more and more about the process, and then broadening it and covering more about Eugene. For the time being, I'm covering a lot about Springfield, and then national and very broader topics.
Yeah.
I hate political labels. I think it's an unfair thing. So I don't like my own question. But what would you consider your political label to be? So what would you label yourself as?
I like to say a libertarian anarcho-socialist, just because that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it does to me though, in a weird way. So there's a lot to unpack there. A libertarian anarcho-socialist.
Yeah.
So libertarian and socialist are kind of oxymorons, but at the same time, I do understand that. Now, elaborate a little bit if you could.
Well, I guess I can start from the socialism part, because when I think about socialism, to me, there's two types of socialism. There's government-driven socialism and community-driven socialism. And community-driven socialism to me is something like, there's a group in town called Core Eugene.
Yeah.
They go out and they do the street feed. And that's the community, like people on the ground in the community deciding how to use their resources to help the other people around them. And then government-driven socialism it's government-driven. It's people, bureaucrats and politicians deciding how to allocate the resources that other people out in the country have, and making those decisions from a top-down centralized point of view. And to me, that historically has led down a bad path in a lot of times, and it probably will again in a lot of ways. And I do think that's the direction we're moving, is towards the government-driven socialism type of thing. We already are in that system in a lot of ways. It's just getting more and more developed, and people are having more and more of a hunger for it because of there's so much inequality, and a lot of people fall through the cracks, sometimes by accident, sometimes by design.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I get what you're saying too. And so libertarian, obviously that's kind of if you had to label the party that you were affiliated with, even though libertarian's kind of like independent.
I think the Libertarian Party is really dumb, actually.
Well, sure.
Because it's the anti-government party,
Yeah.
but you're going to join the government to be anti-government.
And we're going to talk about that. That was my next question about the two-party system and how it's broken. And it's interesting because I'm having you on, and then later or coming up next week, I'm going to be interviewing Alan Zundel, and he just released a book about the origins of the Green Party. So it's going to be really interesting because I want to talk about some of the third party, whatever you want to call it, because I think a lot of people that are in quote unquote third parties don't like the term third party. You know what I mean? Because it's like
marginalizing.
Exactly, because you're still staying in the lane of two parties by saying that, that it's like the other kind of thing. But to unpack the libertarian, obviously that makes sense. Like you said, limited government, but that makes sense. If you're anarcho socialist, that means that you would believe that it's more the role for society than for government to create those socialistic, tendencies.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really a lot of religious organizations, I think, do the type of thing that I'm talking about, where there's like my church I grew up in back in California, there was a community fund where everyone on Christmas Eve donates to the minister's discretionary fund. And then he decides how to dole that out throughout the year. If someone needs help going and getting an apartment, if they get kicked out, if someone needs bus fare or hospital help or something like that. And again, that is like one powerful figure chooses how to actually disperse the money, but it's like all the community chooses to pool their resources together, and then it goes to other people in that religious community.
Right. So, this was actually going to be my last question, but I'm going to ask it now because I think it's a good time. What do you tell marginalized people who feel it's government's role to create equity? So in a situation like you're explaining, which I agree, like churches sometimes don't get enough credit for the good service that they do.
Mm.
Now, they do a lot of quality work. Catholic Community Services in Eugene is incredible, helping homeless, and then the mission, of course, is something that people have talked about ad nauseum, that they like what they do, but they don't like the fact that you have to go to church in order to do it. Now, my answer to that is that there needs to be other services that are offered for different kind of ideologies. But the thing is that the mission and like maybe St. Vincent de Paul, they have this established name and backing, like you had just said. Maybe you have a decision maker at the top, but you have a big community support. So I guess, yeah, I mean, what would you tell marginalized people who feel it's government's role to create equity? Do you think that it can be done societally and not by government?
I mean, there is a strong moral argument for the government working to uplift marginalized people. And even me, I'm, as much as I don't, like, philosophically, I'm anti-government, but I'm also pragmatic. And there is a government. People will always centralize and organize into hierarchies of power. And if we are going to have these systems of power, there's a strong argument that they should act in moral ways and try to elevate people who have been stepped on by society. Also, pragmatically, whenever you have centralized power and groups of powerful people, there's a lot of corruption. And I think a lot of people who get into government do it for selfish reasons and aren't necessarily there to help people.
Right.
And that's where the rub comes, because there's a lot of people who say they want to help the public, but they're really just enriching themselves.
Yeah.
It gets messy.
Yeah, I consider myself to be progressive, but there is, and because of that pragmatism that you're talking about, because I think about having to work inside the current system as it is. I mean, we can work to change that system, but that would actually take away, in my opinion, from the progress that could be made today, because that would make what we need to be doing today put on the back end to alter at least on a national level. I think on a local level, I'm going to hate this, but the third party or non-affiliated, politicians, non-affiliated voters that are running for office can make a difference right away, can get involved, and you can have people that don't fall inside the two parties and you can get stuff done. But there's people like Katie Porter, who I think is incredible because she's actually fighting for the working class people, because she's a freshman congressperson that is new to it, so she still hasn't been tainted. A lot of times people get into politics with the right intentions. Katie Porter and Ro Khanna, some of these progressive candidates, or Congress people in California actually are doing really incredible things.
I think I voted for Ro Khanna back when I was in Cali.
That was the right move. He's incredible. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting, to think about, because I know that a lot of times with equity, marginalized people feel like they're, like you said, kind of, they just get shit on by society, or they get forgotten and slip through the cracks, is the term I like to use when it comes to those services I was talking about before, maybe that are Christian based. Maybe that doesn't include gay people, or things like that, where it kind of slips through the cracks, where they have an expectation of what type of person they'd like to help. Now, that being said, I know that there's church groups that don't look at like what you are. They just want to help you if you're in need. And so I mean, I think that that's sometimes people take that to an extreme. I don't think that that's the case in all situations, or even most situations where churches are like, no, like, I'm not going to help you, but I think sometimes people do fall through the cracks. And that's where, in my opinion, government's role comes in. Now, you voted for Kanye.
Yes, sir.
So, oh man. So
we just lost everybody.
Yeah. So tell me why. Tell me what your reasoning was for placing your wasted vote for Kanye. I'm just giving you shit.
I'm used to it. I don't really care. People always give me shit for a lot of things. But I mean, so the simplest way to explain it is I just don't like Trump or Biden. And I feel like if I'm forced to vote for people I don't like, then democracy is meaningless.
Yeah.
Kanye specifically, so Kanye and I are both Geminis. And I really understand the crazy thought process, and I think I can understand where Kanye wants, like, the direction he's trying to head.
I don't know if he understands, but yeah. But anyway,
he's an artist. He's freestyling.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's less
people
about
don't.
Kanye.
What?
I think it's less about Kanye, in my opinion. We talked about this off air a little bit, and I feel like it's less about Kanye. Maybe not. Maybe you believed he was the right man for the job. That's kind of an interesting thing.
I mean, he is. People don't understand the extent of what Kanye's done in the world. Like, he's built a homeless shelter and revolutionized manufacturing for footwear, which is kind of a trivial thing. We don't really need nice sneakers, but he's accomplished a lot. And I have a lot of respect for people who just put the work in and do something.
Right.
And he's not doing anything but what he does. Yeah. And he's building, like, the school he's building seems really interesting. He talks a lot about sustainable advanced farming, and he's really, like, the architecture aspect of what he does is really interesting, because this kind of links back into the strong communities aspect of a healthy lifestyle. America is not set up for strong, happy, healthy communities. People don't know their neighbors. Nobody knows where their food comes from. And that's bad. Having, like, that lack of community has a real detrimental effect on health.
Right. And we're constantly competing for whatever it is. I mean, there's a point in my mind with a capitalistic society. There's a point where I'm like, that's enough. Like, I don't need to destroy my opponent. I just need to have enough to survive. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the thing that's interesting. We could talk about that with Kanye, with the whole shoe business, because it is competitive. The reason that it's thriving is because he's created this value with his shoes. I don't know. Yeah, I watched a little bit of his Joe Rogan interview, and it was a train wreck in my opinion. And
that's so bizarre to me, because for me, listening to that whole thing, I'm just like, fuck yeah, Kanye. Yeah. Let's get it, Kanye. But everyone else I talk to is like, what an asshole, what a self-absorbed prick. But yeah. I don't know why I see it so differently than everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, I enjoy talking to you. The little bit we've talked, we had talked on the phone a little bit before this, and I really enjoy it because it's different. I like kind of rocking the boat a little bit and getting different ideas, because it kind of, all this confirmation bias is not really getting us anywhere, and so to take different things from different people, I think is really valuable. Now, obviously, you have an anti-establishment attitude or viewpoint. What would you like to tell the establishment if you could?
Stop lying to people and actually give people the help that you say you will. In short, right. I might say stop lying to people like 100 times.
Right. That's the big thing. As far as society and the divide, what do you think needs to happen for the people, for the voters, to help bridge the divide?
That's a tough one, because the divide is a result of people making politics a huge part of their personal identity. And since our politics has been reduced to this binary, you only have one of two options. And people are in competition because politics is a competition for power. And so people pick sides. Now you have your identity and you want your side to win. But people also, once you make something a part of your identity, it's incredibly hard to change that. And it's incredibly hard to take criticism because, like, on a psychological level, your brain perceives threats to your identity as a real physical threat. So when someone calls your political beliefs into question, that activates like fear and aggression in your brain.
Yeah.
And so I think it would take a big deep breath, a lot of deprogramming. I don't know. People have to want to do it also, because people love the combat. People love the political struggle.
One of the things I really like about what you said today was early in the show, we talked about living a healthy lifestyle, and you talked about what we take in, information that we take in. And I think that that's really valuable. I think that I want to kind of expunge on that a little bit because, this is where the divide comes from, is that we have, like I mentioned, our confirmation bias, and we're all guilty of this. And one of the things I pride myself on is at least looking in the mirror, and at least knowing my bias, knowing that I'm a hypocrite, and just being willing to admit that. And it doesn't make me free of a flaw at all. I'm a very flawed person. I do things and say things that are definitely can be construed as hurtful, and maybe that's unintentional, but I'm still just a human being that's trying to navigate this crazy world. But that being said, I just think that I watch a lot of cable news. I'm kind of a cable news junkie, but I also try to psychoanalyze it or break it down to think about their agenda, even if it's something that I agree with. Like I tend to watch a lot of MSNBC because I have the mind of an 80-year-old.
Yeah,
but
like Rachel Maddow.
I mean, I kind of like, I'm a big fan of Chris Hardwick. Is that his name?
I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do like Rachel Maddow, but I mean, I know that it's garbage. At the same time, I know that there I have a big problem with Don Lemon because
he's annoying.
I just feel like Don Lemon, you can turn the TV, and Lawrence O'Donnell, you turn on the news, Don Lemon, the CNN, but it's literally like Trump did this and it's appalling. And it's like, we need to actually show people that are doing things that are making a change and making progress in this life. And that will inspire others to do the same thing. You know, instead of look at how atrocious this act by this person was. And I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, to me, you and I have different views on where we look at Donald Trump. Would you like to kind of talk on that? Because with Donald Trump, you have told me that you don't think that he is the dictator, pseudo Hitler or whatever that people accuse him of being. And can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way he speaks and presents himself makes it easy for people to make the comparison to an authoritarian. But if you dig into a policy level, he's not so much different than any other Republican. But it's just his attitude, and really, it's just my main takeaway from the Trump presidency is the president should be a boring person. The president should not, because the president sets the tone for the whole country. And so Donald Trump set the tone to crazy, and that's why everyone's gone so crazy, because everyone is just matching the energy.
You talk about the president needs to be a boring person. Biden, I mean, I think is pretty boring. But now, what would it look like if Kanye had won?
I mean, he's connected to a lot of interesting people. He's personal friends with Elon Musk. He has a lot of friends in the tech business, a lot of people in different sectors of the economy. And I think he would bring in a lot of good people. But to me, in the Joe Rogan interview, the most important answer he gave was when Joe asked him about what he would do with military. And his answer was, I don't know anything about foreign policy, so I'm going to bring in all the experts from all around different sides of things, hear what they have to say, and then make a decision based on that. Yeah. And that's the right answer.
Yeah, delegation.
If you're president, you should, it shouldn't matter what someone's politics are. It's like, you're good at economy stuff, get in here. You're good at social stuff, get in here. You're good at the environment, get in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what Biden is doing, but I mean, we'll see.
Except for the war people, Biden,
sure,
he's brought in a lot of the neocon type warmongery folks already.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, the problem that I have with either party, the major parties, when it comes to that, is that it's just obvious that they're bought and paid for by weapons manufacturers, and so that's disgusting. So the military industrial complex will live on. And so, it's really troubling. I do think locally we can really make a bigger difference. We focus so much on the national politics, on the president, but we don't focus enough on local stuff. Now I'm going to ask you, and I mean, I guess I don't really like asking people flat out, who did you vote for kind of thing, but you live in Eugene.
Yeah.
How did you go about filling out your ballot for the local candidates? And do you you definitely don't vote on party line. So what do you look for in a local candidate?
Well, I mean, for local candidates, so for mayor, I wrote in Thomas Huerta for mayor because I thought it was kind of ridiculous that there was only one option for mayor. Like, where's the democracy in Eugene? And I've been wanting to dig into more the process of like how primaries for mayor work and that sort of thing. Because there were a ton of candidates in the primary,
Right.
but somehow it only came down to one person in the final election, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So a lot of my political decisions, honestly, are just based on gut intuition, especially on a local level. With higher level stuff, I dig into the policy, but for local stuff, it's like, who are you? How do you interact with people? What's your connection to the community? How much do you actually care about people? And to me, Thomas is somebody who really genuinely cares about the community and wants to do good in the world.
Yeah, and Thomas has this quality that's unmatched. It's not seen very often, at least, where even if there's major differences of opinion, then Thomas will find common ground. Thomas will find a way to give you validation, not validation, but to give you at least a chance to speak. And that's rare. That's really rare. And Thomas is really inspirational, and I think is the future mayor of Eugene. You know, I think, I mean, Isaiah Wagner had a pretty successful writing campaign, for whatever it's worth, you know, because obviously the goal of a campaign is to win. But Isaiah Wagner brought what I think Isaiah Wagner succeeded at was bringing voters that didn't vote. You know, bringing voters that in the past were disenfranchised with the system, like what you're talking about, like the fact that there wasn't two candidates for mayor, but people showed up and voted, and then they vote down ballot, whether it's, I mean, you know, they vote for whichever party they see fit. Cause I see a lot of Isaiah's support came from conservative people, you know, or just people on different sides of the aisle. It's kind of interesting to see. Well, Jeremy, this is really cool. Dirtball, this is really cool to chat with you. I really appreciate, you know, your fandom. You've been a big support of the show, and I think it's great. It's great to have you on. One of the things that I pride myself on with this show is just building community, and the guests are just friends of the show. You know, you reached out to Twitter, and it was really cool. We basically, I don't know. I just try to be accessible. So if you're listening to the show and you like the show, you know, message me. I mean, if you're a dick, I'm not going to respond to it. You know, like yeah. I mean, I've had some people I had Trey Stewart on, and I got a bunch of hate mail, and I just don't even, I'm not going to, if you're coming at me with anger, I really don't have time, because this is just supposed to be fun for me. And it's supposed to be about healthy adult discussions. You know, we're trying to just kind of make progress towards things. And today's lighthearted. I mean, you and I are just kind of having a conversation here. I really wanted to help promote your business, snacktack.com. You know, people buy some dirt balls, throw them in a stocking. I haven't tried them yet. I'm definitely going to buy some. Yeah, I'm going to buy some. So I'll do that today. I'll place an order online, and you distribute those yourself, right? So you ship them out. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're not in stores currently?
No, but I've still been in contact with the stores, and they're going to be, I think the partnership with Elegant Elephant is going to really help the expansion, because they already deliver to a lot of the stores in town. Yeah. And it's really just going to streamline things a lot. Plus, people love dirt balls, and it's a pretty easy sell in Eugene.
I think you need to try to get them into Trader Joe's. That's the thing that, you know, Trader Joe's would be a good one, because I think I think they would fit, you know, and the packaging, the website, the I haven't tasted them, but the idea of the ingredients, it's so Eugene, it's so Pacific Northwest. I love it. And I mean that in an endearing way. You know, I think people are going to really like them when the word gets out about them. And again, it has a fun name. So we're going to end this with one of your songs, Elon Cena. Tell us a little bit about what the song is about. And then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really about anything in particular. It's like nice. It's a fun song. Art. It's high energy. It's I don't know. I was just going for a upbeat, motivational feeling to it. Having fun. Freestyled all the lyrics pretty much. Yeah.
Didn't grab a pen, huh?
No,
it's a good one. It's fun. I really like the style. You have a unique sound, which is really cool. And it's rare in music. Where can people find your music?
You can go to Instagram at It's Dirtball. Has links to the SoundCloud and everything. I have one song on Spotify. More stuff on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way.
That's cool. All right. Well, Jeremy Dirtball Cummings, thank you very much. This has been cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I'm gonna work behind the scenes to get you to sponsor the show with your Dirtballs so that we can start a partnership there as well, so that I can help
business deals.
Yeah. Well, some backdoor handshakes. So, Dirtball. This is Dirtball with Elon Cena.
Through that dank, couple pounds of the haze. Ooh, how's that sound? Couple rounds to the face. Elon Cena, you can't see me out in space. Money in the bank all night, all day. Running through that dank, couple pounds of the haze. Ooh, how's that sound? Couple rounds to the face. If you chase it, trip, you drown on the wheel.
Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. Need a little more polish of my accomplishments. Need somebody to sign me to drown my problems in. I told him hoverboard, why the fuck are they walking in? Ooh, hope stay TikToking. Lost my phone again. Everything iPhone. I don't play the guitar. I just let my home shine like a new star. Everything neutron, Jimmy John's on Neutron. About to drop a neutron movie and a couple new songs. Bitch, I'm Jimmy Neutron. Y'all don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's some next level bullshit. Like 2020 AI, Elon Musk Neuralink type bullshit. Get at me. Oh my god.
How's that sound? Couple rounds to the face. Elon Cena, you can't see me out in space. Money in the bank all night.